Sauce.
Hey, you like Pez?
It looks like that. Here's Heaney from the boundary line. He's an expert at these. From the boundary line!
Hello and welcome to Behind the Boundary podcast. I'm your host Pez. I'm here with Sauce and it is Friday, grand final, public holiday, grand final eve. And Sauce, I wasn't sure that we were actually going to be recording this week because you've taken off this week without telling anyone. A bit nervous about the big dance tomorrow.
A little bit nervous. Gone out and taken the week away to prepare and to prepare for it. It's a nerve-wracking week in the Sauce household. A lot of very, very anxious people. Mum and sister went down to the grand final float today. The float on the Yarra. But the grand final week prepares, as you know, is it's a remarkable thing at the best of times. When your team's in it, it's so good, you know.
It's different.
You pick up the paper, you're reading all the articles. There's so much stuff going on. You get to learn, dig deeper into a lot of the AFL stories coming out. It's a great week, but as it gets further and further onto the week, you get a little bit restless. You know, I'm going to the game tomorrow. You know, got to get there at like 8:30 in the morning to get a park with mum and the sister. They like to get there nice and early, but it's the nerves start coming, and tomorrow, it'll be tough. It'll be great, but it'll be tough.
Oh, it is great. And what you hope for as a non-fan of either club, a non-supporting AFL fan, is you hope for a great contest and a hard contest. And you kind of want the best team to win, but depending where your money's at, Sauce, that's where you kind of want that to happen. But we are a betting podcast, as you know, and a little bit of grand final betting advice. I'll get your thoughts as well, but my advice, especially being against Victorian clubs, if my club's not in it, is to bet lightly on grand final day. And it is about either being with family or catching up with mates and just having a really good time. So don't let a big bet get in the way of that.
And it's interesting you say that, because a lot of the time when you're looking at a game and you're looking to put some bets down, you're analysing for trends, you're analysing for things that you think you can get a little bit of an insight over the bookies for. But grand final day, there's also a lot of emotion attached to it. There's two teams left, obviously being Geelong supporter and going in there, automatically, if I wasn't a betting man anyway, you're looking to bet on Geelong. If you're a Sydney person, you're like, oh, well, Sydney, there's a lot that play into it. So for me, grand final day, you're not betting on the markets in terms of the winners and losers and the lines. You're looking for a lot of the disposal things. You're looking at trends in grand finals and how grand final football's been played. You're looking at the weather conditions, and you're looking at the matchups, which have been flogged this week in terms of the preview and how each team wins. And that's how you bet grand final day if you are having a punt.
Yeah, and you can stay away totally if you really want to, and that's it. Or you might have been listening to the Behind the Boundary during the year. You're up a shit ton of units, and you just want to have a little bit of a flutter and see if you can't enjoy your evening a little bit more. Enjoy
the evening, especially if you've been following Pez and I all season. You'd be up about 100 and something units, so you would be living life nice. To have a couple extra purchases. I just went to Pez's new bathroom that he's put in there, and his kitchen's in kitchen.
Seems to be something every week with
all the winnings
going in. That'd be the rest of the house done after that as well, Sauce. After that bathroom's nice and complete, maybe after next week.
I noticed you did some clearing outside. There's a nice big pergola coming. Is there a big pergola coming?
Well, there's a nice clear area with a big backyard, and we'll clear that up and see what we put down. Maybe a mini MCG or something.
Oh, mini MCG. Not if the trends for the finals have been the way you've betted and going against the Victorian sides, because I think Geelong's got this one.
Yeah, well, and we will get into it with our world famous bet slip a little bit later, Sauce. But just on grand final week, and you have mentioned it a little bit, there is a lot of emotion, and the emotion, I guess the journalists get a little bit sidetracked, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to get clicks, or they're trying to get people to traffic to their website or to their Twitter, wherever they're going out there, because they want to be noticed. They want to be noticed in grand final. If they get a really big story, they'll get a lot of followers for the next AFL season. And I've noticed a lot of people writing articles about Joel Selwood and kind of retiring Joel Selwood before we've heard from Joel Selwood, which is a little bit strange to me.
Now, they do this every year with those aging players, and the fairy tale finish. Wouldn't it be nice for him to, to hang up the boots after a premiership? I even saw an article this week where they had Joel Selwood and Dangerfield both retiring if they bring home the chocolates. And
Get Hawkins, he's gone.
Yeah,
Gary Rowan, see you later. Mitch Duncan. They're all retire.
They're all retiring. The only one that should is no, there's not. We're not going to put someone's career down there. But exactly right. It's terrible because you are right. They're looking for clickbait. They're looking for stories, and some great stories out there enough that you don't need to go and retire players and allow the players to at least do their bit and speak. There's some great stories out there. Look at the McCartan boys, and your mate after all his concussions and injuries, and he's been playing in a flag. You look at Tom Hickey, 3 clubs, 4 clubs, 4 clubs. Jesus, who would have thought he's going to be a premier ruckman tomorrow in the grand final? You look on the other side, you got Stengel delisted to All Australian to grand final berth. Got Gary Rowan playing in his 4th grand final, hoping to get his first premiership. There's so many good stories that you don't need to retire players. Or focus on the downsides of an AFL grand final.
No, and the upside with the Joel Selwood thing, I did read a positive article about him. Is he's going to take Gary Ablett Jr.'s son out onto the ground on grand final day, which is absolutely heartwarming and a great thing to see. And you'd love to see it throughout the year. You do see it sometimes. I think Collingwood are a really good club at getting involved with young supporters, whether it be their own kids, whether it be a supporter with a disability, whatever it is. It's just great to see the kids. It makes their day, makes their year. And then they go to school. What do they got to talk about for the rest of the year? Look what I did. I ran out at the MCG with my favourite team, and the family. It doesn't take much for the club to do that. And if you've got some recruits or whoever is employed at the club to do things like that, and just get it happening every week and make it really special for a family each time you go out.
Yeah, it's something that I think Geelong do really well, but a lot of the AFL football clubs do it well. Is building that community around not only the football club, but all the people involved, all the supporters. Geelong's unique in the opportunities it has because it is its own little country town. So bringing in a lot of those businesses and that, and the AFL clubs do a great job of doing it. And as you said, highlight for life, not just at school the next day. I'd love to run out with it. You would too, Pez.
Look a bit strange on the telly, and then we get to come and talk about it on the pod.
I wouldn't mind, holding Joel Selwood's hand running through the banner.
Don't give him a knock on the head, or else he might not.
None of that.
He might get out with a bit of concussion. No, but it is really good. Now, grand final week leading up, you've got all the footy shows and things like that we speak about. You got the grand final float, which you did mention, and the reason for that is it was at the Yarra this year, Source, and a couple of happy people who got to see some of the players. There was some in cars on the footpath thing. It was a little bit different to see, but you know a bit about it because your family went down.
Yeah, they went down to the Yarra. Apparently, as you said, they jumped on some platoons. Not my mum and my sister, the AFL players. So they were jumping on. They had separate little boats that they were sort of going. That was pulling the platoons.
Okay,
am I saying that right? Platoons?
I have no idea what you're talking about, to be honest.
No, they were pulling around something, and they would go there, wave a little bit. But there was a lot of complaints about it. Apparently, a little bit change up. They obviously tried to do it with COVID safety protocols, trying to make sure that people
keep them
don't
away
get
from the public.
Yeah, they don't get sick, and we don't have to be talking about COVID. Grand final day while someone's not playing. So that's the reason that they changed it up. They ran up the Yarra, and then apparently they did a U-bolt, come back, and then jumped in the cars and went up to the MCG. So that's on. It took away a little bit.
Since the public holiday of it, they've had to change it up. Like a couple of years COVID, but when they first introduced the public holiday, if you remember, there wasn't as many people at the grand final parade because the people in the offices, they weren't working. So on their lunch break, they weren't going down. They weren't hanging out the windows or at the windows with scarves and things. So they kind of mucked it up a bit, and they're trying to
regenerate some interest. And apparently there was 250,000 people actually going into the city today.
Okay. There you go. There's some traffic.
Now, I don't know if they were actually there to watch the festivities, but for the length of the float and the drive up the MCG, it allowed a lot more people to be able to be involved, and it wasn't so clustered. And it obviously brings business to Melbourne. So once you're in there, you shop around. But yeah, I don't know if they've nailed it yet with the public holiday. Yep. I think they need to add some more festivities around it. But you obviously understand the restrictions that they have, like even just the media protocols that they had. Normally they go and, you're up on the stage and they're interviewing and that. They've stopped that. They only had 3 players that they were allowed to talk to the media, and it makes it really tough because they are so worried about having a player miss out on an opportunity because of COVID.
You can't really joke about the illness and things like that, but seriously, if someone was tested positive, I don't know why you'd be testing at this stage if you're a Geelong or Sydney player, but
Nope.
if
I wouldn't have been tested for 4 weeks.
if someone did test positive, surely you just go out there and play, and if other people catch, it's the end of the season. Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know why, unless the AFL mandate testing, but I wouldn't be testing. It's when this sounds horrible to say,
I missed my nose. I went on the outside of the nostril.
We've all done that, haven't we? Poked ourselves in the eye with a COVID test. But yeah, you couldn't imagine that would be promoted and openly said, but everyone does it.
I'd be shocked if someone missed due to COVID tomorrow, especially with all the stuff that's happening. But that will happen. A couple of big events on Grand Final Day, which are becoming fan favourites. We've got the longest kick, which is across the Yarra, usually on Fox Footy. I can't remember where it was last year when it was in WA, but it might have still been at the Yarra, actually, in Melbourne. I can't remember for the life of me. And you've got the Grand Final sprint as well, which we were looking at the time before sources, actually before the game. And I can't remember the year that it changed. It used to be at half-time.
It used to be at half-time, yeah. So it's at 10:30. 10:30 is the longest kick this year, and as you said, over the Yarra. And 12:30 is the Grand Final sprint. And just so... Have you got any horses in the race, Pez? Yeah, you know who's playing in the Grand Final sprint. This was released earlier.
No, I haven't had a look.
So Sam Berry from Adelaide, Darcy Wilmot from Brisbane, high name player there. Matthew Cortell, Isaac Quaynor, Jake Kelly, Carl Warner, Shannon Neal from Geelong, Marble Chol from Gold Coast, Leek Lear from GWS. I shouldn't have read these names out.
I don't know why you even tried.
James Blake Hawthorne, Cade Chandler, Luke McDonald, Miles Bergen. Oh, that's a nice little haircut.
Oh, there's
on that
a heap
one.
of them.
There's a heap of them.
Just how many are there?
There's one. They must be running like sprints.
Couple of hits.
Yeah, a couple of hits. Hugo Ralph Smith's on there. Your boy Bradley Hill. One last run around before he leaves St Kilda.
Yeah.
Corey Warner. Patrick Naish and Vandermeer from the Doggies. So a few big profile names in there. Do you want to know the odds?
Nah.
Your boy's favourite, 375.
Oh, because he's meant to be pretty quick. He hasn't shown it for a couple of seasons.
Hugo Ralph Smith, 750 is the outsider in that one. So
yeah,
if you
get behind the mullet,
if you recognised any of those names and you seen them on the sidelines running or actually on the ground, and you go, yep, you reckon he can get that, then jump on that.
I'd stay away from Marbia Chol. I wouldn't say he's the quickest out of that lot. Oh, I'd say he's quick 0 to 20, but in a 100-metre sprint, I don't think he's got the tank.
Okay.
I'd say.
Inside here. These are one of those ones, again, when you're talking about betting, you're not really looking at, there's so many factors in this. Half the time that these blokes don't even really care.
No, this is one where I look at the odds just for a bit of interest.
A bit of fun.
And then watch the event, but not actually put the hard earns down on it. So, go from there. And then the longest kick, who had a couple of entrants. You've got a couple of names?
Yeah, James Sicily, Fogarty from Darcy, Fogarty from Darcy, Darcy Fogarty from Adelaide.
He's a straight kick.
Stephen May, Charlie Curnow, Cameron Zerha, the Bull, Sam Draper, Jack Ginnivan, and Chloe Molly. And Ellie Downey, is the two female AFLW players in there.
Some pretty big big names there. Yeah. So that'll create some interest for sure. I'll be switching on the TV tomorrow morning. That'll be absolutely fantastic to see that.
375 favourite, James Sicily, Fogarty, $4, Stephen May, $6.50, Curnow, $7 from the Coleman medalist there.
Well, in this one with the longest kick, you kind of have to get a hold of the top. Yeah. And the big names like the Sicilies, if he gets hold of one, it's going 70 plus. And if he doesn't get hold of one and he stuffs up a couple of kicks, he's down in the pack with everyone else. So it's anyone's game. Same thing again. Same advice again with the betting.
You got a tip for that one?
As soon as you said Sicily's name, I was like, bang! Like Sicily, with him, the way he can kick, and if he can get hold of one, which I think I've seen him do that in the past on an AFL field, He gets hold of one. I don't say it's going over the Yarra, but it can go 70 to 80 metres.
He's not going to have the Tassie win behind him.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That is true. Didn't think of that, but
I don't mind.
I'll stick by it.
I don't mind Zerha for a sneaky little.
The big quads.
The big quads, mate. He's a mammoth of a man, and can get a hold. As you said, gets a hold of the torp, you get a hold of it and clear that Yarra. Hopefully, it's a bit more entertaining than it was a couple of years ago. Remember when they couldn't get it? It basically dribbled into the water. It was horrible.
Oh yeah, when they couldn't get a hold of any, that is no good. But you don't want hamstrings to be pulled either, which is big. Which some of the older guys, the retired players, kind of come on and pull hamstrings and things like that.
Good fun though, good fun. You know, you got that in there. As you said, the sprint. You got normally the grand final breakfast show that they do in the morning. The North Melbourne breakfast. They always have on there some old grand finals that are going through. I know Fox Footy this week have been playing the 20-1 greatest AFL grand finals with the Collingwood West Coast number 1. Number 2 is a surprise though.
What do you got? Is it the Doggies?
Demons versus Doggies. Yeah, I didn't think that was that high up. And then, of course, you've got the Sydney and the West Coast ones, the Leo Barry. You got the redemption from the West Coast team beating Sydney. There's so many great grand finals there, and the toe poke in there as well.
All you have to have for a great grand final is
just a close
moment. The last couple of minutes, have a big moment in there, and then it's put down as a great grand final. Even the ones that win by 10 goals, it can be a great grand final by one club, but the other club didn't show up. But it's not going to be in the top 20, is it?
No, not at all. Actually, interesting. I was away with a couple of lads watching some of the highlights watching the 20 best grand finals. One thing that we noticed is earlier on, the 5-minute warning with the clocks ticking over, so the clicking over, didn't mind it. I think they should bring it back where you don't know, because that Leo Barry one where there's no idea about how long's left is so exciting. Yep. Like, it's so good, and it's. But I know obviously you can't do it anymore with the way that the game is, but I didn't mind it.
Yeah, well, it's either all or nothing there, because your radio stations have to do it because no matter what, if you're at the footy at the end of the first, second, third, or fourth quarter, there's always someone asking for how long's left, if it's close, or there's always someone
who yells it
just
out,
saying it to really loudly to the person that's next to them. So I'm a person that will check the clock. I just check the AFL app. I don't have to voice it to anyone. You do have the people that listen to their headset, and the ones that get me are the people that sit by themselves, listen to the radio in their ear, and then they just go, 1 minute left. Like, they haven't said anything all day. And it's
shut
like,
up,
geez, all right. Well, some people might not like that. They might be traditionalists, but you can't control it. So it's either got to be all in with that source, with the 5 minute, I don't mind it, or nothing, and just put the countdown clock at the ground. Yeah, it's either way.
I love that. I think that's the way to do it, because that's the only time that I ever get close to getting into a fight at the footy is when that happens. Some idiot yells out, 30 seconds. You're like, mate, I don't want to know. I much prefer watching it and the anticipation of that siren going, and especially when it's a close game. But like, that's half the excitement of it.
Now, I have to, because you spoke about Leo Barry in the 2005 grand final, I have to retell this story, and I've told it before on the pod, and it's very, very quick. A girl in high school, this was years and years ago, obviously 2005, 2006. She watched the 2005 grand final, was watching the 2006 on the Saturday, came to school after that and said, oh, geez, it's 1 point again to Sydney. Watch the replay on Fox Footy, which they played it at the same time in 2006. Genuinely unbelievable that could happen to someone, and you think that, that's fine. That's a non-footy person.
Yeah,
just watching, put it on Foxtel, going, yep, this is the grand final.
What a stitch up.
And that Fox Footy, I don't think they could be putting it on at the same time, but you got to have replay or something in big letters or something. But
that's one of the other radio stations. Sorry, the other TV stations could do that to sort of draw some viewers in, get some away.
Someone accidentally changes the channel and they just leave it on there.
Oh, this one's still on, guys. Let's watch this one.
Especially if the teams play the same team.
Same teams.
Then
you
well,
this is the first time Geelong and Sydney have ever played off in a grand final, so very exciting. South Melbourne and the Geelong Cats.
And from the Swamp, 183 days until tomorrow, until they played last time, which was when Buddy kicked his 1000th goal.
1000th goal, and
which is
round 2.
The biggest gap in recorded history as well, between playing the team in the season and in the grand final.
Well, it's definitely a bunch of unknowns, isn't it? Like, both of them have been on big winning streaks since then. Sydney obviously a little bit less than Geelong. I think they're up to 15, and Sydney are coming in about 9, I think it is, with their finals victory. So looking good for both teams coming in.
Yep, well, we got to get there and go. What we do need to do, preliminary final weekend, let's do a quick recap.
Soft review, it's no official review. How does it end? We don't know. They've kind of lost
when they've won as well.
Well, there wasn't much winning for us last week except for our football teams, Pez.
Oh, it was big winning for me. I don't know if you had a proper look at the bet slip there, Source. But we will wait and see.
I was just going on from your trends the last 2 donuts. You had back-to-back donuts. So.
Just my trends? No, that's fine. We had Geelong versus Brisbane on the Friday night. It was absolute shellacking. Didn't really get to speak about the match, but it was 70 points in Geelong's favour. Brisbane didn't really come out firing. They kind of dominated in that first early 5 minutes, but Geelong's defence was just way too strong, their structure and things like that. So I had Brisbane plus 22.5 and plus 58.5 in the same multi, so that was no good. The overs got up there, but no good there. I also had from the fans again, Jeremy Cameron from $1.08 up to $2 to kick a goal, Source, and he didn't kick one until close to the end of the third.
Yes.
But doubled up the money. The bloke Jeremy is that he got $40 on, and we can only get $10 on, which is disappointing. So I don't know if he gets on early,
and then
or
it
if
comes
there's,
in.
or if there's I don't know what it is, but $10 to double your money, you can't be unhappy with that.
Well, the week before it didn't pan out, and it looked like this because I was on Buddy Franklin the 2 weeks prior.
Yeah, I stayed away from that.
And I'm like, oh, geez, this could be 2 weeks in a row that the big forward, or 2 bets in a row that the big forward hasn't. I had that bet as well, Pez. So that was one of my rare victories for the whole round. So we'll talk lots about that one. All right. So I had 0.4 units on it, a nice little cheeky 10 on it to double my odds with Jeremy Cameron kicking goal. So very happy with that.
Yeah, I had my bonuses that split as well, and my Brisbane one, no good. I had Brisbane to win, Brisbane Lions goal kickers in there. Daniel Rich to get 20 plus, he didn't even get that. So Brisbane couldn't even get the ball in Daniel Rich's hands because of the way that Geelong had actually structured up and gone to curtail him and stop him, because he was very influential the week before.
He definitely was. Got any other bets you want to talk about before I get on to my losers?
I'm up to the Sydney Collingwood game, and then I got my multi. So
yep. So I'll finish off them with the Geelong Brisbane. I had a 3-leg same game multi, escape with a bonus. Geelong to win. Geelong at the line plus 12.5. And then I had Isaac Smith to kick a goal. He had
a couple opportunities.
Had two opportunities, both missed over to the right side. So that was a bit disappointing, but it was good odds for him. I told you he averaged 2 shots on game, and he had 2 shots on game and couldn't convert any. So that was a bit disappointing. And
could have had nearly any other Geelong player.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Exactly right. So it was a bit disappointing that he couldn't have that, but you can't be upset with a grand final berth, so I was happy either way.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the next game, and I've got an unpopular opinion here, because people are saying that this is one of the greatest preliminary finals ever, but the preliminary final was actually really disappointing for me in the first 3 quarters, because the way Collingwood defended and then the way Sydney defended in that fourth quarter, there wasn't that much intensity, and it only got really intense because it got really close at the end where Collingwood came back from 4 goals down. But that's just my little take on it, Source, because I don't think it was a classic. It's only been said as a classic and greatest prelim ever just because it's a 1 point one. And maybe it's because Collingwood lost by a point, and that makes it a really great grand final, great prelim final. But I had Sydney 1-39, Sydney to win, and over 134.5. All got up. Not as easy as I thought it was going to be earlier in the day, because it was 1 point and Collingwood had their chances there. And then my cheeky had Sydney 1-39, Jake Lloyd 20 plus. The over, and then the under 163, which didn't happen because in that first and second quarter, there was literally like no one wanting to play any defence, and just, all right, let's get it in there, let's kick some goals, and let's kick high score today.
Yeah, it was. I'm actually with you, Pez. It was a very disappointing final because it looked like that Collingwood came back and they had this, real harrowing sort of comeback, but Sydney in that fourth quarter had put the cues in the rack. They were trying to keep themselves maintained for a final, and
maybe too early.
And they made the call too early against Collingwood, who you can't do that. And Sydney being one of the best second half teams of the season, you thought that they were just going to keep pushing on. They definitely didn't, and it was a 1 point victory, but that didn't have any impact on mine. I had a 3-leg same game multi in this one. Chad Warner to kick a goal, Logan McDonald to kick a goal, and maybe if he kicked a couple more, he'd be in the team. Will Hayward to score 2 or more goals, so I escaped with a bonus. Will Hayward did not score any goals.
No, didn't want to go near it.
Didn't go near it at all.
Another thing, the reason Collingwood came back, and Mason Cox got subbed out. Like, I don't know how many times you have to say it, and I don't know what his value is. When he wins a hit-out Source, he hits it 5 metres away from anyone, so people are coming in off the pack and having to compete for it again anyway. He offers minimal value, and I think any other player on their list could come in and do a better job. And if they had chosen another player on their list to play instead of Mason Cox, I think that they could have won that prelim final and been playing in a grand final this week. But that's just my call there.
No, that's fine. You're allowed your opinion, allowed your call. I also had a bet on Chad Warner to get more disposals than Crisp, and Crisp absolutely tore it up.
Yeah, he kicked the shit out of him, didn't he?
He absolutely
Warner was
did.
never in the picture there.
No, never at all. Right from that first bounce, even I thought Sydney were going to get a hold of them, but it didn't make a difference. Crisp was all over the place.
Yeah, he went through the stats last week, but it didn't pan out. Now, my multi, I had a mixed multi, and I was all over Geelong, but I just went in the Geelong game, I went over 158.5, and there was a bit of speculation with the rain and the weather, but it dried out. It was a clear night, and it got over that.
We said it was a very low, didn't we?
It was very low, and the reason was because of the weather.
But
But
the weather did make a difference.
Sometimes you can bet against the weather, especially in Melbourne. So that got up there at $1.88, and then I added it into under 194.5 in the Sydney Collingwood game, and Sydney to win. So all up, that was $3 something, and I had the 2 units on it. So helped me have a very, very good round. Any other bets you need to speak about?
Yeah, just had my multi, which had Geelong, just the two favourites in the two lines. Geelong at the line, which they cleared easy, and Sydney at halftime. They were looking real good, and I was looking for a massive return because I had 50 on this one as a bonus bet. It would have been a return of 150. Minus 17.5. So that last quarter really let me down. So
you're looking good real early.
I looked really good early. But either way, that's the way betting is sometimes. Let's talk about the season stats.
Yep. So I put out 5.4 units that I risked in the prelim final weekend. Returned 11.94 units for a profit of 6.54, which puts me up in the final series now, Source. So year to date, 225.6 units staked, 308.1 units returned for a profit for the entire AFL 2022 season of 82.5 units.
Which is unheard of and remarkable. And it's even what I'm about to talk about, mine is pretty ridiculous. But 82.5 units across 27 rounds of football, that's remarkable.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it?
Oh, look at you sitting there. Jeez, fig jam. All right, I've staked for the prelim 4.4 units, returned just the 0.8 units, so disappointing. -3 and a half units lost. Staked for the season 205.64, returned 243.39, a massive profit loss of 37.75 units. A total between us pairs is, what's that, 119? Absolutely smashing it.
Yeah, even try 120.
129,
that's beautiful.
120,
that's great. So this is where you get it. But remember my advice earlier for the betting on grand final, and just enjoy yourself. But here comes our bet slips.
The fact that the size of the bets was relatively small.
Our bets with an opportunity about 50 metres out.
I was with a mate, and we were getting sort of ready to leave, and he said, I think I'm going to whack 10 on Maxi. Do you want some as well? And I said,
Oh, yes! Yes!
Oh, exciting stuff. Grand finals are always special, but Pez will take you through the specials for the betting rounds.
Cyril takes a special and goes bang!
Yeah, just what I do need is your assistance for a couple of them there, Source. But Sportsbet, AFL Grand Final, 3+ leg same game multi. It loses 50 bonus back, pretty standard. Same over at Tab, but if you want 5+ legs, you can have 2 fail. And if you want to get cheeky and go 7+ legs, you can have up to 3 legs fail and still get a bonus back. Grand Final at Lads, they've got the same game multi, and you can also get the $2 lines and include them in your same game multi for a bit of value as well. Over to Ned's. They're really flogging this. Geelong versus Sydney, early payout up 20+ at halftime. I'd be interested on the stats of when that actually paid out, but would have lost, because I don't think it would have happened too many times during the season if you're up 20 at halftime and then end up losing the match. They've got the same game multi as well. They've got the $2 lines because they're the same company. And then Bet365, they've got the 32 up special. They've got the bonus, but you can't really multi a lot of things up, so it's pretty hard to do unless you go across codes, and that's about it. Moneyball, I can't see.
Moneyball have a few specials, and if you're this is a good time to get in on a lot of betting companies because they do have big grand final specials, but make sure you do your research with it because it's not always good odds. So this one, you got some player head-to-head disposals. You got Dangerfield versus Lloyd, $2 either way, and Dangerfield versus Lloyd. Yep.
Jake Lloyd.
Yep.
Oh, I'm on that.
Yeah, Jake Lloyd. No, you're not. You haven't got specials. But like
I'm
Jake Lloyd would be the one to win that one, you'd say.
Getting the alternate account out. I'm putting that one on.
Yeah, we've got Guthrie versus Parker, which is probably a bit more of a
That's
fairer one. So that one's a bit of a 50-50. You've got Joel Selwood, more disposals than Chad Warner.
Oh, yeah, see,
So
this
that's a more sneaky one. But that first one's the lure. And then you've got, that was a repeat. And they've also got an AFL Grand Final Cats vs Swans Norm Smith medal bundle. So $25, and you can have Cameron, Stewart, Mills, or Parker to win the Norm.
from both sides, doesn't matter who wins,
yeah.
you can
So
have
probably,
a shot at it.
which is okay, but like the favourite for the Norm from Geelong is Dangerfield. So you haven't even got the favourite in there, and you get $3 on that. So it's not great odds. If you think one of those blokes has got a shot, you better actually putting down an individual bet.
What's your question without notice? But Dangerfield's performance last week, he kicked the 2 goals early from one off a set shot, which he doesn't usually do, from 50, 55, and then one from a standing start from 50, 51 out. When the game was there to be won, he was the best player for Geelong.
Easily.
Does he win the equivalent of the Norm Smith medal in the prelim final because of that?
Last week.
But because he didn't go on with it.
No, he didn't.
So,
I mean, he still had 28 touches, 2 goals, 2 behinds. Like, he had a pretty big game, but you are right. When the game was there to be won, he took it and he won that game, put Geelong on his back. But I mean, it's hard to say in a 60-point game.
that's what I'm saying. Like, do you put more value into when the game was there to be won and who actually was there in the grunt of things?
So for me, in the last week, if they had to name a Norm Smith in that, Hawkins wins the Norm Smith because Hawkins was huge. Kicked a goal in almost every quarter. Had four goals, 3. Absolutely tore up that Brisbane forward defense, or that Geelong forward line.
Yeah,
so for me,
Harris Andrews didn't have a good day.
No, did not.
Yeah, interesting, but that's what the voters will have to think about this week anyway.
Some other specials that we could mention as well, Pez. MintBet. MintBet have a few good little specials going. They've got the Norm Smith middle special where you can pick either a Geelong team or a Geelong player or a Sydney player. So if you do the Geelong, $4. Dangerfield, Cameron, Guthrie, DeConing. So that's a better bet than the $3 one for.
So you're betting on Geelong to win.
Geelong to
pretty
win.
much.
Yep.
Because it's rare that a losing player will win the Norm Smith.
Or you go the other side, Mills, Parker, Heaney and Warner, $4. So that's not a little bad one from MintBet. They've also got the first snag special, super. Now they call it a super sextet. And I don't really know what that means.
Sextent?
Is that what you said? Not a sextet. A sextet. Sextet?
Sextet? Like six players.
I think it's what 6 players.
That's what it means.
I don't know why.
Show me what it is.
I don't know why they've.
I don't know why you said sextet.
Well, you find me in the sextent if Geelong win, mate.
You'll be pitching a tent tomorrow in the MCG if Geelong win.
Probably definitely will. For this one, you get 6 players: Cameron, Hawkins, Stengel, Franklin, Heaney, or Papley to kick the first goal.
They're all going to be in a tent.
Can you imagine them in a tent? Buddy Franklin eat them alive. Jeez.
That's unbelievable. But Buddy Franklin's used to being enclosed in a bit of stuff going on. Well, he had tens of thousands of people around him when he kicked his 1,000th goal source.
He could have used a tent that night.
He could selfish. He should have waited until grand final day.
Imagine his 1,000 goal grand final. We need 2 tents. That would be so good.
The last one I can remember is 2004 prelim. St Kilda versus Port Adelaide over at Adelaide Oval.
Yeah.
Fraser Gehry kicked his 100th goal. St Kilda were up and about. It actually stopped the momentum and swing the other way with the stoppage of the game.
It didn't help that St Kilda were playing. That probably didn't help the result.
Well, it didn't help anything. Thanks for that. I'll have to get away to mention him, don't I?
We have to give away to mention it, isn't it? Hey, I've done really well so far not talking about Geelong.
Only 2 teams to talk about.
All right, let's get into where the money's made, Pez. We'll tell you not only our bets, but how you can make some money on grand final day in our bet slip.
Well, here it is. Intro's already been done, and only a couple of bets. And as I said, don't go overboard for grand final day. If you do think you've got an edge of something and you think that's value, go for your life. But my advice, if you're just a casual punter and you don't really know what's going on, just enjoy the day, enjoy the festivities, have a couple of drinks with some friends or family, and just really enjoy the day.
Yeah, enjoy the day. But there is a lot of money to be made. We will tell you how to do that. Well, not by following along with your bet slip, but following along mine, you can make some money. Geelong taking on Sydney, of course, in the grand final. $1.47 favourites are the Catters. $2.62 outsiders are the Swans. The line for this game is 12.5, and the total game points is a little bit further down because there's so many markets out there. So excuse the little stall there. Is 164.5. So they're contesting maybe a low scoring game. 164 is pretty low for a final, but we know what happens in finals, that normally the scoring dries up. The weather's looking good tomorrow. 17, some sun, and it should be a cracking day. What are you thinking in bets this way?
All right, well, I've got my bets, but my bet slip before that, you did say how to make some money, and probably a way to make some money is a lot of the agencies, I know Sportsbet do, I know Neds do, I know Lads do, they've got every single player in the over-unders source for disposals. So some players that haven't been in there at all, and if you've noticed some trends through those players throughout, you think the grand final stage might get to them a little bit, their over-unders a little bit high, and you see some value, that's where you can get an edge and can make some money. For the lesser-known players, especially if you're a Geelong supporter or a Sydney supporter, or you're an avid AFL supporter and you follow along those players, you can have a look at some stats. Stay away from the averages. Don't just look at the average and then go, yep, I'm going to bet on the over-under. Look at the individual things, because if someone's average is 21, but they got 35 disposals in a game source, that bumps their average up. So you just got to be careful of that. Look at individual things, see how they've gone in finals, see any part of history that you can to back up your bet and go from there.
And what the AFL has provided in the grand final this week is, because they're talking so much about how both teams are playing, if you're listening intently, you can see which players that actually the game styles will favour. And exactly what you said, they just look at the averages and they've just literally put the averages in there. There's been big games or low games, there's opportunity to make some money in there for sure.
You've got to be careful about matchups. Like with Daniel Rich, he got 32 weeks ago. He got held to less than 20 disposals last week. So you think of a player like Jake Lloyd who takes kickouts. So if Geelong miss a lot and he plays on, takes the kickouts, goes on from there, they use him across the back line. We know Geelong defend really well and they've got their setup behind the ball. So Sydney are going to be stagnant for parts of the game. So if Sydney don't rush and just kick long down the line, they're going to go sideways and backwards. And if you think that's going to happen, players like Mills, players like Lloyd, players like Parker, their disposals are going to bump up a little bit. So you've just got to check your numbers. And I wouldn't put a bet on today on it unless you're doing it for a bit of fun or our bet slip here. But I'd look in the morning and just be really aware of game styles and how you think the game is going to go.
Yeah, and then that's what you said, like analyse the trends. And if you think you've got an edge, then take it. Like I think there are some disposals in there that they've got wrong, and I think you can make some money on that. But let's get into how we think the game's going to play out and what our bets are. I know you're all over Sydney, so tell us why.
Because they're an interstate club and because I don't want to have to stop this podcast, because it will turn into a Geelong podcast when there's only one team to talk about. Source, because you as a Geelong supporter, you like to you've stopped in the past 6 weeks or so when Geelong have a chance to win the premiership. I notice that you tend to back off a little bit, but when it's just up and about early season, it's just is there 18 teams? Oh, sorry, I was still talking about Geelong, but you go from there. But no, I think either side can win it. I think Geelong have been the stronger side all year, and watching them live in that preliminary final. Just their structure behind the ball and the ability to stop Brisbane. When Brisbane were winning the centre clearances at the start of the game in the first 5 minutes, behind the ball and how they teamed up and worked, you had 2 on 5 or you had 1 on 3. Every single time. You had one guy just edging the guy under the ball legally and the other guy coming in taking an uncontested mark. And that's what they're going to try and do to Sydney. What I like about Sydney's forward line is they've got so many avenues and so many different things to happen. But he's going to be up. He's going to be up 60 metres out, 70 metres out. He's going to be turning. He's going to be trying to pick up the ball and trying to bomb that ball inside 50. You've got a couple of other marking options. You've got Tommy Papley. Imagine if Tommy Papley turns around and kicks a goal. He's going to be up and about. You've got Isaac Heaney who can take a big mark. And that's why he's, a $13 favourite. Well, not favourite, but in the top 5 favourites for the Norm Smith medal, because he can turn a game on its head. So Sydney and their forward line able to do that. You also need the McCartan brothers down the other end to stop Hawkins and Cameron. Mm-hmm. So you need to work that intercept game and work Geelong's strength, which is everywhere, but their strength in the forward line against them. And they really need to shut down Tyson Stengel.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you make about the Geelong the avenues to goal, because Sydney, they're not a team that really works from a traditional forward sort of sense. Yes, they got Buddy, but a lot of their goals come from outside 50, those long bombs and, those ones from outside 50 versus the midfielders as well. So it's going to be interesting, because that has been Geelong's strength, is being able to set up the intercept and get that game running. They're the number one team in the league off turnovers. They're the number one team off points, off turnovers as well, so scoring shots. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how they can combat that, and how this style of play works against a team that doesn't really fall into that category. Sydney will have been analysing Geelong for not only this week, they were looking in the last couple of weeks at the way that they're playing as well, which Geelong will do as well, but not playing back previously before, in round 2 makes a huge difference, because both teams have really changed their style of football from then. Sydney are that real sort of run, bun, and bash and crash, and when they're up and going, the goals come fast, they come quick, and they come from everywhere. Whereas Geelong's a little bit more calculated. I know last week on Friday night, it looked pretty potent the way that they were moving that football, and it was almost like a training drill.
They had freedom.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to get that. Sydney is the number one precious team in the league. They're going to really contest that ball, and they're not going to have that movement to be able to free flow and allow the football to come up into the hands of Hawkins and Cameron and on the floor to Stengel like they previously would. They normally had against some other teams.
What Sydney can't afford to do, if I'm still on the Sydney side here, is they can't afford to give Geelong uncontested marks out of defence.
Yep.
So they can't let them work up the wing, hit one in the middle, hit one back out to the half-forward line, and then have an entry inside forward 50. That's what Brisbane did last week. And it was absolutely horrible for Brisbane, or anyone going for Brisbane that night, because Geelong just ate them up through the middle. Brisbane were trying to play a zone, and they were just leaving players out in the open. They were leaving way too much space. So Sydney need to close that space down, and they need to pressure the ball getter. And the way you do that is you have Geelong, you force them to play on. You need to force them to play on. You need to force them to make mistakes, because if you don't force them to play on and they get uncontested marks, they beat you by 50 uncontested marks on the day, they'll win the grand final.
Yeah, and Geelong's so good at doing that straight out of defence. Like straight away, normally Tui or Stewart plays on straight away. I think his play on rate, Stewie over off coming out of the after a goal is like 92%. Straight away, boom, and then it's either a nice kick up the ground, short kick till the opening comes, and then boom, penetrate that middle. Or that long bomb kick, but he's already run on for 30 or 40 minutes. So you need to match up right from the word go and stop him from having that play on. And his kick you're not kicking into the 50 now. You're kicking up the centre wing. You run the fat side of the ground, and then they're off. Especially with Cameron and Hawkins coming up the ground, and we know that pull power that they have.
What you want to do, because you have to stand the 9 metres, and from the kicking you got to stand even further. So Tom Stewart, he'll try and run to 20, 25 out from goal, and then kick it 75 out if they're doing the long kick. But what they should do is Sydney need to try and force the kick to the boundary first. Because you force that kick to the boundary, the zone, if you go to the left side, the zone on the right, they move back, and it's hard to kind of explain on a pod here, but you want Geelong kicking long down the line from the boundary line. You don't want that long kick coming straight out of the Tom Stewart's foot from the back goal square, because it gives Geelong the advantage going forward with Jeremy Cameron flying up, or Blixarves, or whoever is going to do it. So force them out wide, and then force that long kick down the line from there.
Yeah, it's the way to do it, and that's what's scary about Sydney, is that they are really they're number one pressure team in the league. So if any team's going to be able to do this, it's probably Sydney, and it's the unknown of the matchup as well. Of it's been what would you say 100 and something days since the last team's played.
183.
Very different brands of football, and there's not that whole spectacle of Buddy Franklin kicking a 1,000th goal in a 45-minute break.
So that's a lot, Source, there about how Sydney can win and what they need to do to win, and it's all about how they defend Geelong. What do Geelong need to do to win?
What Geelong need to do to win is they need to get the ball into the right players' hands. They need to play that ball into, off that back line, exactly what you said. It's the total opposite of what you said, because if Sydney are going to win, they need to stop Geelong doing that. Geelong win, they need to do that. The other thing, so that's the obvious answer. That's what they need to do. But if the game is played like that, and Sydney have the strategies to stop that, then Geelong need to adjust.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the big key with where Geelong hasn't had success in finals, because Scott's willingness not to adjust and not to change the game plan. Don't get cute. Start Patrick Dangerfield in the middle. get early touches, get the ball going, put Selwood in there, rotate Atkins through, and just control the pill. Because if you can control the pill against Sydney, you're going to have more, it's obvious, going to have more forward entries. And I think our forward line is more dangerous compared to their defense. I think that if you can unleash Hawkins and Cameron and get the ball to ground with, Myers and Stengel and Gary Rowan, there's enough firepower there to beat you in the forward line, but they've got to get that midfield battle done, and they've got to control the pill, because we know Sydney accumulate the footy, and if they accumulate the footy, they're going to get multiple entries in, they're going to get multiple opportunities to score, and as you said before, there's lots of weapons that Sydney can do to hurt you, so they've got to control that midfield battle, and adjust if they need to.
And I think they'll be able to get some marks inside forward 50 if they're able to force Sydney that turnover and then double and triple team players on the wing or at centre half back, where they can get a Blixar flying up and taking the mark, or a De Koning taking the mark and then quickly switching to the other side, and then they'll have those uncontested marks to do. So I think that is an avenue for Geelong to win, and we go from there. Thinking about all the different fans, we know there's more footy fans for the clubs at preliminary final weekend. But if you're able to get your hands on a grand final ticket and go to grand final day, it is something special. I know there's a lot of corporates, but it will be a packed house. There's Geelong. There's a lot of people coming down from Sydney that I've heard about in the group messages and things like that, and people all over tickets and coming down from Sydney without tickets as well, Source, just to try and get their hands on something and be part of something special. Because if your club's in the AFL Grand Final, you do anything you can to get your hands on a ticket.
Exactly right. And as you said, if you've been to a grand final, you know and you understand how exciting it is, even when your team's not there. When your team is there, it's great. And if you got yourself on a ticket this for tomorrow, enjoy the day. It's great. And don't even really worry about the punt too much when you're there. Just enjoy the spectacle of it. But we do need to focus on some punts, Pez. So let's get into our bets.
We haven't even gone through our bets.
That
was just an analysis of the game.
I know. It's exciting stuff. I'll start things off. I've got a bet that I had from 2 weeks ago that I'll start off with. So 2 weeks ago, I put on Geelong to win the flag at $3 because I said last week that I thought they got over Brisbane, and you're basically getting yourself a free hit at a $3 odd. So I've got 50 on Geelong, which I put on a week and a half ago, and $3 compared to
$2.
$2 is it? Sorry.
Yep, from the future.
Sorry, $2 compared to 147. So I've grabbed 53 cents.
Which is what you spoke about when you put it on prelim final weekend.
Yep.
So that's there on your bet slip, ready to go.
That's the first one done. The second bet I've gone with goal scorers because I don't think the traditional forwards generally stand up in finals. It's very rare that you get big bags, and obviously if there's an absolute onslaught, then the team's going to get a hold of it. But a lot of work goes into planning and stopping these forwards. So I've gone with Gary Rowan to kick a goal, Isaac Smith to kick a goal, and Tyson Stengel to get 2. So I've multied all of those up, and I've put one of my bonuses from last week on it at $6.50.
Okay, $6.50. Get them. Is that just any times?
Anytime goal scorers. That's it. Yep. Do you want to keep talking?
I can go through a bet. I've got a little cheeky same game multi, and what colour is it there?
Cheeky!
We go a 3+ Lego, and I am thinking all with who I want to win, which is obviously against Source and obviously on the Swans. So I've gone Sydney to win 1-39. I don't think this game is going to be a blowout either way. So Sydney 1-39. I've got Jake Lloyd. We spoke about him before. 20+ disposals. I think he'll take the kickouts. I think they'll have to be held up in some stages from the Geelong defence. And then I've got Tom Hickey in there. I've put him in the disposals there, Source, under 15.5. So under 15.5, you get about $1.88 for him on Ned's there. I've boosted this one, and you're still eligible for the bonus back. $8.21. I've put 2 units on it, just for a bit of fun.
Don't mind that. Don't mind that at all.
Oh well, you would hate that. You would hate that. That would be heartbreaking if that won for you.
I was just trying to be positive with you, Piers. But I like your analysis of the under disposals for Hickey because
I just think they don't want the ball in Hickey's hands. So you're on grand final day, the biggest stage. Hickey's there to take intercept marks, and he's there to win hitouts. He's not there to receive handballs. He's not there to, spot up a target across the ground. You don't want the ball in his hands. You don't want Hickey making a decision for you going forward. So the only way he gets it, if he takes 8 intercept marks or something for the day. So I think it is much a high percentage chance that he gets 15 or less disposals throughout the day and sits somewhere around 10 or 11.
I bloody hope so. That's the part of your bet I really liked. I liked that part. The rest was shit.
Yeah.
I've gone with something similar in terms of the reasoning behind it. I'm glad that you mentioned Mark Blitzars before, him really being able to take those intercept marks. I think he plays a huge role tomorrow, not only because of what you spoke about and then Sydney playing into Geelong's hands, but if something goes wrong, Mark Blitzars is a jack of, what's the saying?
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades. And I think he'll be the quick fix in there. And I think he's an easy adjustment. So I think if they need some sort of injection, they could possibly put him in there. I've got his disposals at 17.5. And when I did my metrics, he sits about 21, 22. Okay. So I think this is really, really short in there. He did have a couple of rough weeks earlier when, like last week, he didn't get many disposals, but the ball wasn't down there.
So he didn't need to do anything.
Didn't need to. So I've gone a 3-league same game multi, Geelong head-to-head, Mark Blitzars to get 15 disposals, and then Mark Blitzars to get over 17.5, multi that up, $2.50, and I put 2 units on that one. Clever.
Multi it together.
Multi it together.
Go from there.
You keep going.
Have a bit of fun. I've got another one here. Instead of going Sydney outright to win, because something tells me Geelong are a really good shot because they are a really good team this season, and they're actually coached a lot better than they have been in previous seasons, and they're actually able to change in game, which has been rare in the past seasons. So I think Geelong can win, but I don't want to bet on Geelong. So I've gone the $2 line at Ned's, just put 2 units on it. Sydney plus 13.5, hoping that Sydney can just win and that can get up for me there, and that's my second bet of the grand final.
Yep, this is my third and second last one. I've gone with sent in from the fans, Finster, a great follow on Twitter. He's one of our loves the show.
Loves the show.
Listens to us in bed, he reckons, every Thursday night.
Yeah, in pitches tents.
Yeah.
Sex tents.
Yeah, that's where the sex tent. He would be loving that one. So he sent us in with a new betting company, Boss Bet.
Oh, you're kidding me.
And so I've signed up, as you know that I would. That's how I win all my money, promotions. Geelong to win and Joel Selwood. Now, we talked about him having a big game, so this needs to happen if Geelong are going to win, to have one disposal. At $2.50, $25. So that's a great one.
So it's
$2.50 odds.
It nearly is. It's 99.9% a bet on Geelong to win the game.
Geelong to win at $2.50. Love that.
The only chance Selwood doesn't get a touch is if he gets knocked out before.
Yeah, and the only way that's happening is
he gets sniped.
Is he gets sniped or he runs into the banner. The banner's a little bit too high, and he's got little Levi Ablett there, and he's not paying attention.
No one's doing it 89 and coming in off the square.
No, come on, that's not how footy's played anymore.
You wouldn't be doing it to Joel Selwood anyway.
You wouldn't either. He's a legend of the game, and I hope he gets a premiership as a captain, because he hasn't had one as a captain. It would be really good.
Interesting you speak about that. So you've got a lot of players from ex-clubs, and one of them, Patrick Dangerfield. Do you think the Adelaide fans are going for the Cats tomorrow and want Patrick Dangerfield to win a premiership, or do you think they would actually be going for Sydney?
I don't know. Like the way I am when I see a player playing for another side that used to play for Geelong, unless they left for ridiculous reasons. And in terms of like they left heat, I'm going for them. So like if I was an Adelaide fan, they would
never leave for money unless you're Gary Ablett, because
they
own estates and pubs anyway.
You wouldn't go to Geelong for money anyway, but like because we're a nice honest football club. We don't pay for money. We just pay in. If you're into investments and fishing, come down.
15 years time, if you win the premiership, you'll get it stripped in 15 years, because they'll be like, hey, wait a second. How do all these retirees, how do they own all of Geelong?
Well,
what the hell happened?
I mean, just a little bit of sidetrack. I don't know if you saw this, but they definitely do pay money, because Jeremy Cameron's got some deep pockets. He was bragging. Did you hear about his interview? He walked into Lambie's, which is a very famous place in Geelong, and it's run by Cameron Ling, and it's a cash only place, right? Which is already dodgy. So they don't do any ATM.
Where the AFL Grand Final tomorrow is a cashless place.
Cashless.
You have to take your card. So if you didn't know that, Source, no cash tomorrow.
At the AFL Grand Final?
Yeah.
I haven't used cash in
neither have I, but just in case someone's listening, they're like, I've pulled out. Remember back in the day, I pull out 200
bucks. That's all I can spend. Yeah, the old best of like investing. Anyway, so he's gone in there, and one of the young blokes goes, "Oh, go get me a beer," and he hands over his card, and they're like, "Jez, it's cash only. Like you can't do it." And he goes, "Oh, well," he goes, "I'll take that." And he walked up there, and he apparently put the car on the bar and said, "Well, if you won't let me pay with my card, I'll just buy the place." Couple of free pots, hey, well. So that just proves the points that they've got some money. But I'm glad you brought up Joel Selwood and him winning as a skipper, because it would be great. Did you know?
Well, you brought it up.
Well, you brought it up. If he wins tomorrow, did you realise that he will become a new leader in finals wins. He'll that'll be his 23rd win in finals.
Jeez.
St Kilda. He passes St Kilda as a football club. Only won the 22, mate. In 124 seasons, he did it in 16.
Yep.
I just thought I'd just...
Fantastic.
Well, we wanted to bring up St Kilda in this podcast, so I thought I'd...
Cheer the red and the white. Here we go.
All right, let's get on to a little bit more fun stuff. I've got my...
Cheeky!
For this one, and it's just a $25 bonus bet with for the Norm Smith medal. I don't like betting the Norm Smith medal prior. I think you can make a lot of money betting live.
Yes.
If you start to watch the game, and the favourites stay favourites for a long time.
I got screwed over in 2016. It's horrible.
I've gone with Jezza Cameron. I think that there's been so much talk about him this week and how powerful he is. He only needs to get 16 or 17 disposals, have a couple of snags, and he is right in the wheelhouse for that award, especially if Geelong win. The other thing is that Geelong don't have a lot of accumulators. Like Cameron Guthrie probably can get you maybe 30 on a good day, but most of the time he averages about 27. Mitch Duncan sits about 22. Joel Selwood, as we said, sitting probably about 20. So there's a good chance that he's noticed by the umpires that they love him. They love him, the media, and he kicks a couple of snags there, and he could nice little $9 that one is.
New name for him as well. Instead of Jezza Cameron, Normie Cameron.
Norman Cameron.
Who was that? Was that Stevie J?
Stevie J used to go
At
to the coffee vans. He'd go over there, and then he would go there and order his coffee and be like, "Oh, just a coffee, please." Yep, name, and he'd say Norm, and then he would just sit there and wait, and they'd be like, Norm, and then he'd be like, "Oh, that's me," and everyone would be like, "What?" And it's like, Norm Smith Miller.
If he has to explain it, that's no good.
No, you got to explain it. I reckon that's what actually rubs the salt in.
All right, now I don't like it either, but just a cheeky. You're going to press the wrong button.
Cheeky!
Just a cheeky 10. And if I'm thinking Sydney are going to win, one man that needs to have a big day if they're going to win is our man, Isaac Heaney, a show favourite. He's paying $13 over at Ned's. I've put a cheeky 0.4 units on him just to win it. I don't want to, go overboard or anything. So Isaac Heaney, I'll be going for him tomorrow. I will be having Sportsbet open, which is the best place to go for looking for live odds. If you want to bet with someone else, that's fine.
They're easy to do.
They're also easy to bet with for live betting. So there we go. That's all my bets for the grand final at the moment. I'm also going to try and put on, who are those two players that you said before? Lloyd versus Dangerfield. I want to put 2 units on Lloyd. If I can, I'll add it to my bet slip.
No,
if I can't,
you've already admitted to everyone you're banned, so you can't. So
you piss off. I've been banned for many, many years, and I still manage to get things on. And I will find a way. Straight after we finish recording.
Stop pointing your finger at me like I'm the betting
very
agent.
aggressive because
you are very aggressive.
I'm angry at Moneyball because there's no reason for me to be banned because you've made so many units this year off Moneyball.
Just Moneyball.
I hardly even bet with them, and it's
Source
just banned me
ball.
anyway.
That's what it is.
They're sharing data between agencies, I reckon.
Oh well, yeah, that's unlike a betting agency, but it's going to be a great day tomorrow. It's a shame that we wasn't able to put on a bet on how big the crowd was, because that's normally a fun bet to put on.
Yeah, usually we put on that over 99,000.
We always put the over, always bet the over, just for fun.
They'll be packed to the rafters.
You're counting them in the stand.
Actually, you think over 100 tomorrow?
Yeah, first one back in Melbourne.
I think over 100 as well.
Yeah,
even though it's an interstate,
everyone gets in there. Well, there's no Melbourne teams in there.
Yeah. Why is it played at the MCG? Why isn't it played down at Alphabet Stadium?
I thought they were going to play it in Perth. I thought that's where they were going to go.
I heard Mars Stadium down in Ballarat. It'd be a nice day down there tomorrow. A little bit windy.
They're going to go to the new stadium being built in Tassie. I think that's where they're going to play it there.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Be nice.
Jeez, we talk some shit towards the end of the pod. But
I tell you what, it's going to be a good day tomorrow.
Enjoy grand final day. This year has been a blast. Are we doing a post-show win or loss sauce? What's going on?
Maybe probably 2 weeks after, because that's when I'll be sober after the celebrations for Geelong winning another premiership.
And if there's a loss there,
yeah, we quit.
We're done. Pot over.
No, I wouldn't do that to you because I know you enjoy this quality time.
Oh, we'll keep an eye out for that. We'll try and wrap up the season and maybe even a bit of season over as well, because
season over. We could look at some betting strategies in the off season as well, how to make some money in some other sports. I think we've got some ideas.
Yeah, we're looking at MLB. There's some content over the summer for everyone.
We
Enjoy grand final day.
We say this every year, and then we don't do a podcast till
don't tell everyone that. Enjoy grand final day. Have a great one. I've been Pez. Peace out.
I'm still Sauce. We'll see you guys next time. Well, that's not my exit, is it?
You got to say go Cats or something.
I'm nervous. So
Come the Swans.
all right. I'm still Sauce. We'll catch up next time. Go Catters. And if you're having a punt, as always, bet responsibly.